Talking to Rick at JT.
Thanks, Patrick.
We were 1/4 plus
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Facebook Live. We're going to get underway very shortly with this latest information on what is now Super Typhoon Mawar making its exit from the Marianas region this morning. Stand by and we'll get underway with the latest information valid as of 7 o'clock this morning.
The pressure I didn't check till 6 o'clock, several hours later.
How you doing?
You know what? I could check what it was here right before it went off because it would have been closed. And the tower evacuated, but it was still transmitted.
Not yet.
Altimeter 2870.
And again, thank you very much for joining us here on Facebook Live from the National Weather Service Forecast Office. We will be getting underway in just another moment or two as people continue to join this live broadcast with the latest on Super Typhoon Mawar. If you have any storm damage reports, impacts, damage to homes, vehicles, please do report those into this chat. We will be following up with the reports. Also, let us know how things handled in your area overnight, particularly prior to midnight last night during peak conditions. If you have any reports for those listening along Anderson Air Force Base or Retidian areas of far northern Guam, we want to hear about your experiences. You may have been clipped by the eye passage sometime around late evening. If you have those experiences, please reach out to us. We want to hear your experiences, the timing, the impacts, and where you're located. We have possible reports of an eye passage over far northern Guam. So if you were up there overnight and you experienced those conditions, please let us know. We are seeking those reports. So yeah, we're going to get underway right now. And again, thank you for joining us here at the National Weather Service Forecast Office in Guam. We have quite a bit of updates here as sunlight is starting to peak. We are waking up to a rather disturbing scene out there across Guam. We're looking out our door and what used to be a jungle looks like toothpicks. It looks like a scene from the movie Twister with trees just thrashed apart. We lost most of our non-coconut trees out there yesterday evening. We have a mess on hand, as much likely most of Guam is dealing with a major mess that's going to take weeks to clean up. Again, this is a major typhoon that struck Guam. This is exceeding the impacts we felt during Typhoon Dolphin, also the impacts we felt during Typhoon Mangkhut in 2018. This is a major event. We are asking people to stay sheltered in place because typhoon warning remains in effect for Guam and Rota because we're still experiencing the damaging tropical storm force conditions. This latest information is from the Joint Information Center. This is JIC release number 27, May 25th at 6:35 a.m. Guam remains in condition of readiness 1. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Tenorio to make initial assessment at first light. So the governor and lieutenant governor, they're making their way around parts of the island to make initial assessments. Please stay inside, stay sheltered because the damaging winds are still ongoing, especially along windward western coastal areas of the island. According to the JIC, at first light, and when it is safe to do so, Governor Lou Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, along with partners from the Department of Public Works, Guam Homeland Security, Office of Civil Defense, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency will conduct a windshield assessment to gain visibility of any major damages or blocked roadways in the wake of Typhoon Mawar. As Guam received the full brunt of Typhoon overnight, the assessment will help determine what damages may have occurred. Tropical storm force winds continue on Guam. Current conditions will continue on Guam, but are not expected to worsen. This typhoon is moving away from Guam, but it is intensifying, so that wind field is expanding. Therefore, we still have the threat of tropical storm force winds. Sustained winds of 30 miles per hour with gusts up to 55 miles per hour will continue for the next 2 to 3 hours this morning across Guam and Rota. Residents are urged to stay off the roads and remain in safe, hardened shelters until condition of readiness or Core 4 is declared. We do not have an estimated time for that, but that will be coordinated with the government of Guam, the governor's office. So stay tuned, stay in shelter. A flood watch remains in effect for Guam and Rota through this morning. So the latest on what is now Super Typhoon Mawar. As of 7 o'clock this morning, this Super Typhoon is now pulling away from the Mariana Islands. At 7 o'clock this morning, it was located near 14.1 north, 143.9 east. That was about 75 miles west-northwest of Guam, 85 miles west of Rota, 130 miles west-southwest of Tinian, and about 140 miles west-southwest of Saipan. Maximum sustained winds have increased to 150 miles per hour. Present movement to the west-northwest, heading at 295 degrees at 8 miles per hour. And again, this wind field, this is what we're concerned about, because as it's pulling away, it's intensifying, the wind field is expanding, and we still have these tropical storm force winds that extend from the center up to 255 miles to the southeast and up to 215 miles elsewhere. So I'm going to hand this over to Brandon, who's going to talk about more of these storm details, and then we will wrap this up very shortly with some final notes regarding the Weather Service.
Yeah, like Landon had mentioned, the Super Typhoon Mawar is pulling away from the Marianas. The core of the very heaviest, strongest winds are finally pulling away from Guam. However, the exterior wind field, tropical storm force winds, still overspreads a substantial portion of the Marianas. Notably, even up for Saipan and Tinian, we see this area of clouds that is gradually pushing right in through Saipan. So that is going to result in some heavy showers over the next hour perhaps. And so do be prepared. Even though looking at the Saipan airport, the observations are showing sustained winds of about 20 to 25, 27 knots. That is equating to about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So we're just shy of those tropical storm force winds, but this area is going to bring some significant gusts right into Tinian and Saipan. So if you are out there as a first responder, do keep in mind that there are going to be some strong gusts pushing into the 45 to 50 miles per hour range.
So again, we're seeing some comments coming through the chat right now from Saipan about gusty showers moving through, and this is what Brandon was talking about just there. Those showers are surging in over Guam and Tinian and Saipan as we speak. So this is going to bring some locally heavy showers and gusty winds. So hunker down, stay safe, because limbs and other debris can fall with these showers on the far outer realm of this typhoon.
Yeah, the worst case is we have small debris, signs. There's metal signs that will take off very quickly in such strong winds. So stay in your shelter. We have a number of wind advisories across Tinian and Saipan. We have our staff that has been in here in this building for much of the past 48 hours. We're tag teaming to go through this process and to make sure we are communicating as much of the most important details concerning significant hazardous seas, surf, and winds for the next several days. So again, just to recap, the sustained winds for Saipan and Tinian are hovering around 20 to 30 miles per hour, but those gusts are still exceeding 50 miles per hour. We just had a peak wind remark of 48 knots. That's about 55, 57 miles per hour. So those wind gusts will be quite strong. And same thing for Rota. Rota and Guam, we are still within our typhoon warning because even though we do not expect any more typhoon force winds, we are still within that damaging wind radii that we're going to see those tropical storm force winds still eventually decreasing across Guam and Rota. So we've still got some time to go through this morning, maybe around midday, early afternoon, before those tropical storm force sustained winds drop down. But even then, strong gusts, those are going to be the surprise. Those are going to be the ones that really hinder any type of responses across the islands. Now, as we move forward, rainfall, we have been showing a lot of rainfall. So we've not seen so many reports of flooding, though we have no doubt there's a lot of flood concerns. The wind damage has been the main concern, but we've had some significant rainfall in the past 24 hours, exceeding a foot, approaching 2 feet in parts of central North Guam. Dededo suggesting 24.5 inches of rain, and then also Mount Chachao, the one site that we are looking at yesterday that we had discounted with 100-some inches of rain. The USGS has modified some of that data, and so we've got something that looks a little bit more realistic, but certainly we're exceeding a foot of rain for much of Guam.
And so looking at these rainfall totals, that keeps very much in line with what our forecasts were indicating, 9 to 15 inches likely with locally higher amounts, and we definitely did receive that, especially in Dededo. That's where we suspect the eye wall, part of the eye wall was passing over late last night with those really intense winds and showers just thrashing for hours over central and northern parts of Guam. So it was really a thrashing that was delivered to Guam during the overnight hours with this extended duration of a storm passage.
Guam's storm total, 19.38.
Okay, just getting word from Ken and Patrick. Here at the weather office, the storm total rainfall, we're almost 20 inches here at the weather office. So that is the most rainfall we've had in a 24-hour period in quite some time. It's going to be comparable to some of the notable typhoons in Guam's history. Now, Lena had mentioned the variable effects of the typhoon winds last night. So with the typhoon, the farther you get from the center of the storm, the weaker the winds get. So with the typhoon eye, the strongest winds are right along very narrow sliver next to the eye. So that is within the eye wall. And then as you get farther away, winds decrease. And so last night, with the eye passing just north of Retidian, Guam, those strongest winds were right across northern Guam. So we're going to be seeing a substantially different landscape regarding damage, wind damage from the south tip of Guam to the central to north Guam. And so that is why yesterday we did issue that extreme wind warning. It's a very rare text warning to indicate where those strongest, most severe, damaging winds are. And so fortunately we are past that now. We're in the recovery phase, but we do ask people to stay in shelter until the all clear is given. Now, as we look at the sea conditions, we are seeing a little bit of bounce around with the Retidian buoy. It looks like we're going to have to check the times to see if the Retidian buoy is still reporting or if it has not been knocked off its moorings.
Moved off its moorings.
So that is one of the concerns, that we may have lost the Retidian buoy, but we can see that drop down yesterday as the eye passed pretty much right over the buoy, and then it came back up. We are going to see that decreasing trend, but still for the next day or so, hazardous seas in excess of 10 feet combined sea heights. So boaters, please stay off the waters unless you have a large boat ship and you have definite needs to get around. Otherwise, surf will be hazardous for the next couple of days. And so we'll be communicating that. We have several forecasters on hand that are working with updating the latest surf, small craft advisory, sea conditions, looking at all the latest watches, warnings, and advisories that we are still working with and communicating. You can find all the latest information. For those of you who have internet, can find that on our webpage, weather.gov/GUM. Weather.gov/GUM for all the latest information. And for folks that are joining us from off-island, understand that we are dealing with sporadic telecommunications outages. We have a significant portion of Guam and possibly even Rota, we've not heard yet, without power. We've got cell phone outages. And so Guam is going to get back up and running as soon as possible, but it's going to take some time, especially for some of the more isolated areas of Guam. So keep in mind, conditions will gradually improve today, but we still have significant strong wind gust potential in excess of 50 miles per hour through at least this morning into the early afternoon. So even though we will eventually, not yet, eventually we will drop those tropical storm and typhoon warnings, but the conditions are still hazardous out there. So take heed to stay safe. Let emergency responders do the job. There are people who are in serious need right now, and they need to be responded to first. So let the government workers, let the public works, let the power crews do their jobs as best as they can so we can get Guam up and running as soon as possible. Anyways, please send us any messages if you have any questions, if you have any concerns. You can find all the latest information on our webpage, weather.gov/GUM. And we will be here to support you and to make sure the latest weather information is provided for you for all your decision making and response.
Now, just a little bit of a follow-up up there. We live here on Guam. All of our staff, we've been impacted by this storm. So effective at 9 o'clock this morning, we are making the announcement now. We are shutting down operations here at the WFO Guam. We've taken some damage to our facility. We're without air conditioning, we're without water, and we're on generator power. We will be transitioning our full service back up to the Honolulu Weather Forecast Office at 9 o'clock this morning in 1 hour. This will be a seamless transition for our products and services, our forecasts. They will continue seamlessly. We do have some staff from Guam. They are going to Hawaii right now to help facilitate shift rotation over there in Hawaii. This is a practice, this is an exercise and rehearsed process that we back up our operations by other weather forecast offices. So at 9 o'clock this morning, we will be turning over our operations to Honolulu Forecast Office. I will probably be here for a little while longer or much of the day. Patrick Dahl, one of our senior forecasters, will be with me as well. But we are sending our staff home to take care of their property, take care of their families. Because people matter, and we want people to make sure that they're taken care of, so physically, mentally, and emotionally. So 9 o'clock, we are turning over our operations to Honolulu. We'll be watching the storm as it leaves the area. We may not do another Facebook Live from WFO Guam, but we will continue transmitting information on our webpage at weather.gov/GUM. And as long as the transmitter is still working, I think it's still working, dial 211 for the latest information from the NOAA weather radio. As long as that transmitter is producing juice, we'll be transmitting weather information, whether it's from Guam office or from the Honolulu Forecast Office. And a big thank you to everyone in Hawaii at the Pacific Region National Weather Service headquarters, also the Honolulu Weather Forecast Office there at University of Hawaii campus. Thank you for supporting us through this event. Thank you for providing some partial service backup because it's been busy. And so we're going to send our staff home to take care of their needs, their concerns. I don't know what my house is looking like right now. I'll find out very soon. But we will ride it out together. We are one Guam. We are one Marianas. Yeah, it's been a test. So we will see how things turn out in the coming days. But stay safe. Stay in shelter until those typhoon warnings are canceled. Possibly earlier this afternoon, so stay tuned for that. And we'll be back in due time.
Just one last reminder, Guam is still in condition of readiness 1, and so continue to take those actions appropriate to Core 1. Please listen for more information from the Governor of Guam for when the all clear is given, but we are still in Core 1. And please remain in shelter. Do communicate. Try to reach out to family members, loved ones, friends. Check on their well-being. The most important thing is just to communicate, to talk, to relate to each other, and then we rebuild together.
And one last note. I think we're getting a lot of phone calls right now when are we going to Core 4? We do not make that decision. That is a government of Guam. That's the governor of Guam that makes that decision when she feels that we are in a good place that people can start moving about. So listen to information from the government of Guam in the coming hours, maybe later today, for any decisions that are made. Otherwise, we are signing out from WFO Guam. Thank you. We hope everyone's safe and picking up the pieces in the coming days and weeks. Have a great day.